Well, I'm finally going to do a podcast on what took place over the last, basically year or two. Um, so basically, I've told you many times, been in business 35 years. I just turned 62 in July. And today I have something pretty big to share. If you haven't heard it already, word does get out pretty fast, even at a national level. But I sold McAfee Heating, Air Conditioning, and Plumbing Company after 35 years. And of blood, basically of blood, sweat, and tears, and of building a legacy, I think. And the deal is done. So I've talked about family legacy and a little bit about private equity, which is such a bad word to some people. But I've talked a lot about succession. And, this decision wasn't made lightly at all. I've got 2 kids, adult children. I mean, they came in here at 5 years old emptying trash cans and doing things, picking up things. They would come to work with me on Saturdays because I work most Saturdays. That's a whole nother podcast right there. But dedication. I just did something today on dedication, and it matters so much. If you're not dedicated and you're not all in, your business is going to just get by or fail. So, but they would come in on Saturdays and they would work for 30 minutes to an hour, and then they would play. I'm talking when they were little. And they grew up here at McAfee. And honestly, I thought, they might take over one day. I never pushed the issue. I never pushed it on them. We talked about it. And Travis is going to be 31 years old, but when he was in 8th grade, he came to me and he said, "Dad, are you going to be disappointed if I don't come into McAfee?" And I said, "I don't know. What do you want to do?" And he said, "I really want to teach." I said, "Then teach. Be the best teacher you can be. We need good teachers today." So he taught for a few years. He actually was in a program getting his master's, where if he taught for a few years, he got his master's paid for and a stipend. And he taught. He actually went to South Africa for a certain trip during school, and he taught there in South Africa. And and then he started working on his PhD, and he's about a year and a half away from getting his PhD in leadership. He works with me, coaching, and we also built a Platinum RV storage facility that was opened December of 24, and we closed on McAfee June 27th of 25, and so this has been in the planning. Tiffany is going to be 22 this year, and she is in nursing. And she is called to be in emergency room nursing. She already works at the hospital as an emergency room tech. That's her calling. She loves it. She thrives on it. It's a natural high. Things don't bother her. A lot of things that would make people throw up, this does not bother her at all. It's her calling. Why would I make 2 kids who had a calling of their own come into a heating and air conditioning company? I wouldn't. And I know there's a lot of families that do, and there's a lot of pressure on people to come in. That makes for really tough Thanksgiving dinners, folks. Why do I want to bring someone into a business and have them run it when they don't want to? Doesn't make sense to me, and it didn't make sense to me, so I didn't push the issue. What I did do was encourage them to be the best at what they do, and I had to do what I had to do. My wife and I, we've been together. We got married in 1990. We bought our first house in 1990, and we started McAfee Heating in 1990. So we have been through this all the way. And Most people have no idea. I'm talking to people who do, but most people have no idea what it takes to start a business from scratch with no, really little experience, no business experience at all, zero, no money, $274 in a used Ford Ranger with no air conditioning. No, people have no idea. Wasn't easy, but when you have the drive and the vision and the dream, you do it. You just do it. 35 years later, it seemed to pay off extremely well. Now that I've sold, extremely well. And, you know, I appreciate my kids doing their own thing. I want to say, I've learned that you've got to build a strong team, which we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about a strong team who can take you to new heights, because I did not do this by myself. I did not build such a high EBITDA by myself. I was not able to get one of the highest multiples today by myself. And I had a strong leadership team. We made it happen. And I'm going to talk more about that. So today, I title this Sold. And we're going to talk more about it. Hey, this is Greg McAfee, and welcome to the Greg McAfee Show. Now let's get started. Hey, welcome back to the Greg McAfee Show, where we discuss steps to successful entrepreneurship, how to take your business to new heights, and ultimately follow your dreams. Today, this is titled Sold. You know, it's nobody's business but yours. What you do in your business, how you run your business, when you sell your business, or who you sell it to. I am blown away by how many people are so concerned with who I sold my business to and why. I mean, other companies are posting things on social media. If I can find them, we're going to post them up here today just so you can see some of this crap, because it just cracks me up. They have no idea what they're doing. That's why we're number one. That's why we've been number one since 2016, because they're so worried about me instead of growing their business. I'm sorry, folks. I'm extremely passionate about this because I think it's so funny. And now that I have sold my business, it's even funnier because they're still attacking me. Okay, so let's get one thing out of the way that I just mentioned. People love to give their opinions on your business, even though it's not theirs. Now, I don't know. I can't get my head around that because I'm just not that kind of person. If you want to run a business and have 2 people, that's your business. If you want to run your business and have 200 people, 2,000 people, that's your business. If you want to run a business and it's not very profitable, but you're happy with what you do, that's your business. If you're watching this show, though, I'm going to teach you how to be more profitable, enjoy what you do, and sleep better at night. But it's your business, folks. It's my business. This podcast is my business. It attracts a handful, 5,000, 6,000 viewers right now that understand the concept of what I teach and what you can learn from this, which is really unbelievable because it's free. It's free. What I teach to you today is free. All right. So the minute the news got out and the group that bought us is called Champion Services. Great group. I hope to have the CEO on this show someday and talk about it, along with my broker, who did an excellent job. But they wrote a really well done press release, and it went out to the entire HVAC plumbing electrical industry. And they wrote this, and when it went live, it was unreal. The minute the news got out, other HVAC companies in my market especially started running their mouths. I mean, why are they so concerned about me? Why do they worry about me? I'll tell you why they worry about me is because we have done things they can't do. What do you mean by that, Greg? They can't do them because they're not willing to do them. What we do, anyone can do. But you've got to have the drive, you've got to have the desire, you've got to think outside the box, and you've got to want to be different. You've got to want to be dedicated to what you do. Running a business is not a part-time job. It's a full-time job. It has to be gone over with your family. This is what it's going to take. I've talked about family balance 100 times on this show. It's very important. I never missed a game. I had 2 kids who played multiple sports, boat all through Tiffany rowed a boat all through high school, and played basketball. And Travis played football, wrestled, and track, and baseball up through, 8th grade. So multiple sports, never missed a game. Most of the time I was sitting in the bleachers by myself at practices watching. I'm very involved in my children. Family balance is important to me, but most people don't understand family balance. They think family time balance is sitting at home, playing games, sleeping in, doing their own thing. That's not family balance. You're not just because you're home with your family, you're not giving time to your family. Oh, anyway, that's another class. All right, so the funny thing is they've been attacking us for years. And they try to knock us down. They can't knock us down. It bothers them. It really bothers them. And they get off their game. And jealousy is powerful, and it will ruin you and take you down. And that's all this has been for many, many years. They weren't jealous of me the first 5 years. What's there to be jealous of? But when we started thinking outside the box and we started making things happen, we became a problem. We were liked for many years and until we hit this breakthrough and we really started to grow and we skipped millions in growth. We went from 3.5 million to 5.2 million one year. I mean, we skipped millions. Nobody does that. It's rare. Oh, you can do it in Las Vegas and you can do it in Florida and you can do it. You might be able to do it in Texas and those types of things, but it's very rare when you have mild weather, which is what we have in Ohio most of the time. So jealousy is powerful. It will ruin a person. It will ruin a business. And now they are panicking because an $800+ million group bought us. They already thrive in Ohio. They're 45 minutes away from us. They already own a company, 45 minutes away from us. They're combining. They're going to be strong. I picked this group out of 20 to 30 groups that we interviewed, and we would have interviewed a lot more, but this group made us an offer very early, and we knew they would. We hit it off on the first phone call. Similar, not the same. You'll never find a group to buy you or a company to buy you that has a very similar culture, or the same culture, I should say, but you can get close, and they're close as we could find. So here's the deal. You, as a company, you don't need to explain your moves to anyone. It's your private company. It's your company. You can do whatever you want. I did anything I wanted, legally, morally, ethically, in my company, and it would bother people. You know what I learned this from John D. Rockefeller Sr. I enjoyed bothering people. I enjoyed thinking outside the box and doing things that they were not willing to do. and it bothered them. They weren't there. You know what? Nobody's there at 2 a.m. Let's go back 25 years ago. At 2 a.m. in the morning when I couldn't sleep because I was figuring out how to pay my bills and pay my employees. Nobody was there when that was happening. Nobody understands that concept. Now, you do, unless you were just blessed with a business that went from 0 to 10 million the first year or two. But very few companies do that. And that's why 97% fail in the first 10 years, folks. Don't forget that. I mention that a lot because it's critical to your business. If you've only been in business 7 years, don't get a big head. You're not there yet. If you surpass that 10-year mark and you're thriving and you're very profitable, keep doing what you're doing. Still don't get a big head, because I've seen businesses very profitable and thriving go out of business because they forgot what got them there. And they get very comfortable making a little bit of money. And they start buying shiny objects and things they don't need. And pretty soon they're gone. So they weren't there when I was suffering and trying just to make ends meet. And they weren't there when I was clawing our way from 489. There was 489 companies in 1990, heating and air conditioning companies. I was 490. They weren't there when I climbed, scratched, and dug our way to number one. It took me a while. Again, I didn't know what I didn't know, folks. But I did surround myself, which I'm going to talk about soon, with great, smart, top mentors in business. And I was a sponge, and I learned from them. You see, what you build in private is nobody's business when you sell it for a premium. And I mean a premium. All right. So why most people react in fear? And you know what? As I'm going through this, I have a feeling this is going to be 2 parts. So we're going to focus on this part 1 and then part 2, because there's just too much information that's good. It's good information for you to hear. And why I did what I did, how I did what I did. So let's talk psychology for a minute. You see, Walmart is Walmart. And when Sam Walton started coming in to the market, what happened? Well, the mom and pop shops started to what? Panic. Why did they panic? Why did they panic? What reason is there to panic? If you're providing a service, goods and services, if you're providing those and you're taking care of people better than anyone else, there's no reason to panic. Do you think Ace Hardware panicked? No, they're still around. As a matter of fact, they're doing billions. So much so, they're buying heating and air conditioning companies now. And they didn't panic. A lot of other people panicked. And multiple different companies panicked. They stopped thinking. They got scared. They had fear. And remember, there's nothing in the Bible that says God, we don't get fear from God. There's no such thing as that. We get fear on our own. We get fear on our own from thinking wrong. It's not given to us. We're not given the spirit of fear. We get it from thinking wrong. And they started shrinking, and pretty soon they were gone. Same thing happens in our industry, folks. Same things happen in the service industry, the home service industry. The same thing happens. That's why these companies around me, some, not all, but probably more than I know, some just were ballsy enough to post it on social media, which it hurt them. I mean, people were standing up for us. People I didn't even know were standing up for us, you know. It's none of their business what I do. But if they weren't so scared and lacked business savviness, it wouldn't have bothered them. And there's a lot more people it bothered. They didn't say anything. They're scared to death. Because little Greg McAfee was dominating a market, and now you've got an $800+ million company coming in. Do you think they're not going to dominate it more? Do you think they're not going to take market share? Hugely. Okay. So the same thing is happening now with me that happened to Sam Walton. Fear-based thinking, poor decisions. Listen to this. Fear makes small thinkers even smaller. One guy got on there and said, McAfee said we were scared. I'm not scared. What did he just do? He mentioned my name. What does this do for the new group buying us? It's just more name recognition. Thank you. Good job. It's funny. So, fear-based thinking leads to poor decisions. And builders, though, the builders out there, there's some companies that this didn't affect them. They're not worried about McAfee being bought. They're not worrying about that. They're focused on growing their company. You see, builders don't flinch. They scale. They grow. They make things happen. All right, so let's go to this. What makes McAfee so valuable? What made McAfee Heating and Air, Plumbing so valuable? Because again, I will say this. Again, we got one of the highest multiples, and we had an extremely strong EBITDA for the size company we are. Extremely strong. One of the strongest, I would say, from what I've heard. Now, what makes us so valuable? Well, let me break down what made us so attractive that these buyers lined up to buy us. What made us so attractive? Number one, brand power. I'm sharing this with you. Brand power. We weren't just another HVAC company. We were the brand. Actually, we are in the top 5 brands in our area. That I'm not talking heating and air, folks. I'm talking brand in our area. Overall, we have brands here in Dayton, Ohio, like Mike Sells potato chips, Esther Price candy. We were there. We were in that bracket of a brand that I worked hard to build. I told you before, I didn't want just a heating and air company. I wanted the heating and air company, okay? And I worked hard to get there. I learned from the best, and I've read over 1,200 books now. And yes, I keep count because I only read one book through high school. I hated to read. So I've read over 1,200 books. I've learned how to brand. I've learned how to market, and I've learned how to advertise. So it's brand power. 9 years being number one in my market. Why? We're trusted, we're recognized, and we're respected. And I've took some hits along the way. I've made some mistakes along the way, and we're still number one. And I hope McAfee stays number one. I hope they excel and double and triple revenue and profits, because if they do that, I did my job. I did what I was supposed to do. I built the base to grow from. And I will always be happy and proud of that. So before we wrap up, if you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to like and subscribe below. You can also support this podcast by rating and reviewing on iTunes or your preferred listening platform. Keep listening. I'll do my best to keep challenging you. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram and Facebook at The Greg McAfee Show. No spaces, no underscores. As always, thanks for listening. carry on. God bless. Make this day the best day of your life because we're not promised tomorrow. I'll see you later.